Hello YouTube, my name is Mistic and welcome to Mistic Reacts. Today I am watching a video by Geographic, How Nature's Favorite Country Figured It Out. I don't know what nature's favorite country is. I can guess it probably isn't the United States. I can probably guess that much. I just realized there is a country right in front of my face. I don't know what country that is. Let's get into it.
No military, no street
Ooh.
addresses, and no zoos managed to be the happiest place on Earth. Well, they figured you don't need war to find peace, don't need numbers to find your place, and you don't live around nature, you merely adopt her pace.
Okay. Is this like near the Amazon?
Costa Rica changes you. It's regularly listed in the top 5 of happiest places on Earth, and in 2019, it was actually voted #1. It's also where you go to find animals you swear nature came up with that day. Did you know Costa Rica holds 6% of Earth's entire biodiversity, while only holding 0.3% of the real estate? 6% of Earth is like 2 Russias, and Costa Rica fits that in a country smaller than West Virginia. It's an animal lover's dream, so safe to say, Costa Rica ruined my life in the best possible way. I was invited by Ted Countdown. Yeah, that Ted. We'll get back to that. And that led to some consequences.
Is his
First
name
was the
really
fact that living in New Jersey, man, my first point of contact after Costa Rica was Newark Airport. And all I'm gonna say is there's a reason SpongeBob has an entire episode on that. The other is that one cannot simply go to Costa Rica and just be content with sitting back at home. The same way a toxoplasma parasite turned a third of the world into cat people, something in Costa Rica's air gives you straight wanderlust and makes you want to see as much of the rest of the world as possible. It's hard to explain if you haven't been there, so here's some Costa Rican animals that'll change your brain chemistry. Cause you know a country's on something when they have their own honey badger. Can you believe you've made it this far without knowing about the greater grisson? A stretch weasel rotel replica most people have never seen. A miscellaneous mustelid feared by an entire country. At least it would be, if only it was bigger than a ferret. Just one of the many animals that prove Costa Rica's a simulation. A kindergartner's canine caricature came to life and it's called a bush dog. You're forgiven if this DLC dog you've never seen. They weren't discovered in Costa Rica until 2017. They had set up cameras for 12 years and this was the first picture they got. It's a semi-aquatic corgi that's so short it needs a handstand to pee and mark territory. Their closest relative is that, and in packs, a band of bush dogs can take down a tapir. That's a tapir, basically a boneless rhino, also called the gardeners of the forest because they help spread seeds for it. It's the national animal of Belize. It's the biggest animal in Costa Rica you'll see, and they are a personal comfort animal to me. Also, allegedly, they eat people's dreams, at least in Japanese mythology, which inspired a Pokemon. The agouti is another seed disperser, and in size, they're somewhere between an economy capybara and a guinea pig. Clearly, they inherited the goodwill, and as someone who's been here, this is likely the first animal you'll see. The agouti is even a friend to trees, since their habit of burying and reburying seeds may have saved some trees from extinction, making them the squirrels of a country that already has them. And if you love squirrels, you'll love what the rich coast has to offer, specifically the variegated squirrel and all the colors they come in. There's 15 subspecies of this alternative squirrel and 7 are in Costa Rica. In fact, feel free to pause this video and let me know which squirrel is you.
This one's me, because it's red, has a little bit of white, and the black is my tattoo. So this squirrel is me. Which one are you?
The armored rat is another rodent that looks even more like a Pokemon, thanks to the namesake of defensive spines meant to ward off predators. So it's reassuring to know I don't apply, because to me it does the opposite. Leave a comment if you knew about this rap, so I can reply and call you a liar. Ah, jump scare! Just kidding, it's just a water opossum. It's not the only marsupial found in Costa Rica. In fact, there's more than 10, like Derby's woolly opossum. But it is the only one with webbed feet, and also the only one where both the males and females have pouches. Except males use theirs as a speedo to protect the McNuggets while swimming. Now it should be no surprise that a country out of this world has a Jesus lizard. The basilisk got a street name because when the going gets tough, this lizard turns water into a runway. Now granted, these animals are pretty difficult to find. But what you will see is a coati, which is not a moonwalking dinosaur, but a raccoon cousin that'll steal your heart along with anything else not nailed down. Now with Costa Rica, one bird won't make your trip,
in another video.
But 2 can. There's 6 types of toucans in Costa Rica, and they all have a secret.
Those things were
real. They want you to think they're a parrot, but I see through them. That's a rebranded woodpecker on steroids. The macaw might be the only bird arguably more iconic. You never forget the first time you find wild macaws flying above your head, and it's the first time I've personally seen an animal glow red. But also a special shout out to the critically endangered great green macaw with less than 1,000 left. And as unfortunate as that is, you've definitely seen a macaw or toucan before. Let me know when you clock a resplendent quetzal. Definitely a life-altering bird to see, and every bird watcher's wet dream. I don't even count the years since I was born. I just count how much birds excite me. So safe to say, the resplendent quetzal makes me feel my age. So does the king vulture. Now, you know me, I love all vultures, but you also know a country has aura when even the scavengers are out here getting fits off. I love me some king vulture. How could the drip be denied? Now, every bird's beautiful, but if you had to ask who I think is the flyest, I wouldn't say them. They kind of scare me. Montezuma or a pendula. I definitely didn't just need an excuse to say that. Costa Rica's ethereal if you love birds, but otherworldly if you love cats, and the Pura Vida capital has plenty of that. Where else can you find an endangered species on your porch? The oncilla is a no more than 6-pound pint-sized predator, and one of the smallest wildcats in the world. It looks like someone used AI to babyfy a puma, and this tiny tiger is a cat I'm betting a lot of y'all have never even seen. Yet, the same cat, also called Pidorillo, has spawned on the porches of tourists. I'm not promising that you'll be visited by a silla if you come here, but the chances aren't zero. But what you probably won't see is a jaguarundi. Designed by the same studio that brought you the bush dog, it's one first-time viewers might not even clock as a cat. Yet this UFO, unidentified feral otter, is fully feline. In fact, you want to guess its closest relative? Well, genetically speaking, this is actually the pipsqueak puma. There's plenty of cats in Costa Rica, including the trio that looks like different stages of the same Pokemon. Side note, did you know ocelots and opossums have this weird relationship where they seem to hang out on the low? Not to anthropomorphize, I'm sure there's a reason. I just don't know what it is. I'm telling you, Costa Rica's not a real place. I mean, this video wasn't recorded in Costa Rica, but that goes against my narrative, so I'm gonna disregard it. Costa Rica's not short on cats, but ironically, it's the biggest cat that's the easiest to miss. The biggest cat in all the Americas was nearly wiped out completely in Costa Rica. The biggest cause of jaguar deaths in the country by far are retaliatory killings by farmers, which of course is a travesty. On the other side, realizing that a farmer's entire family gets set back thousands of dollars every time one loses a cow really puts that side in perspective. But it's how this conflict was dealt with that shows that Costa Rica really is one of one. At first, farmers were treated like villains, and those that lost livestock to big cats were offered zero solution, just a warning that they could not touch the jaguar. But more recently, there's been an active effort to coexist with the predators. Some compromises include biological corridors, untouched habitat highways that animals can travel through without the risk of human contact. Not only does Costa Rica have 44 of these bio-bridges, these corridors cover a third of the country's overall territory. Another compromise was documenting the data of livestock attacks to create a map of predator activity, not to track and whack the cats, but to give the farmers a better chance of protecting their assets. In fact, out of the over 30 countries using this model, Costa Rica is the only one that can pinpoint precisely what and where the density of livestock attacks are mostly focused. And that's what I think sets Costa Rica apart from the others. Like, the people of it have fully committed to living alongside wildlife, even the biggest predators. In fact, a lot of the jaguar's biggest supporters are actually farmers like Wagner Duran who have lost livestock to them. Because Costa Ricans seem to understand that living with nature means living with nature, not around it, not through it. Which is why, a while back, Costa Rica made the controversial decision to shut down all its public zoos, instead opting to move animals to rehabilitation centers with the hope that those that are fit can be returned to the wild. This naturalist approach has led to Costa Ricans learning to coexist, even alongside apex predators. You'd expect a country where jaguars and pumas overlap to have constant conflict with ranchers, but instead of trying to wipe the cats out, farmers are always trying to find non-lethal measures. One even involved importing water buffalo as part of the herd, as the buffalo are tougher, healthier, and a much better deterrent against predators, while feeding on the weeds the other cattle won't. I still can't get over jaguars and pumas walking the same path, and that would be impossible without Costa Rica choosing to exercise compromise with nature over control. And today, my favorite big cat has made a comeback, and there's one animal that's real happy about that. Which is weird, because jaguars eat turtles, so in what world could they do anything good for them? Well, another thing about the rich coast, it's also home base to over 500,000 sea turtles. Hundreds of thousands of olive-ridley turtles use the beaches as a spawn point, and the rise of jaguars means less of the animals that would eat their eggs. Not only that, but it's also the jaguars' leftovers decomposing and releasing nutrients like nitrogen that keeps the forest healthy. But back to the turtles, if you're in Costa Rica on the right month, you'll witness one of the largest gatherings of turtles on the planet. And I know I said change your brain chemistry before, but seeing thousands of turtles storm beaches like Normandy will genuinely rewire your mind. Costa Rica's like Gravity Falls, but with wildlife.
Cool,
like I said, if you want to see something you've never seen before, you have a good chance of seeing it here. How about a mass mobile ray migration?
Ooh.
It's not just turtles. These rays will travel by the hundreds of thousands passing by the rich coast. If you live long enough to see, you're luckier than most. You might even get to see one fly. A truly once-in-a-lifetime spectacle, or as the Costa Ricans would call it, just another Tuesday. But it's not the only. I told you, I was not kidding about shiny Pokemon. This is not editing. That is a 6-foot golden nurse shark found off the coast of Totoguero National Park.
A shark?
And just to give you an idea of how rare this is and how this shark has no business existing, this fish is a result of 2 mutations, albinism, but also xanthrochronism, making it the first time a shark was ever seen with both. Not to mention, nurse sharks rely on camouflage to survive, so having this literal gold standard be a full-grown adult is even crazier. If I had a nickel for every time a fish found in Costa Rica made the news, I'd have at least 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but in 2014, an albino all-white marlin was caught off the coast, and in typical Costa Rican fashion, it was released out of respect. Or white privilege, because there's something about Tequisha that seems to be a beacon for phenomenons. We already mentioned a rarely seen cat pulling up to someone's porch, but what about finding something that was extinct? The Isthmian alligator lizard just looks like a reptile left behind, and for a while it seemed like they were, since they went missing for 50 years before being rediscovered. And while it wasn't in Costa Rica, of course this ancient lizard is found in Costa Rica. The glass frog was another find in the Costa Rican rainforest. Yeah, you're not slick, Hermit. Other than being a Muppet understudy, the glass frog is most famous for being see-through, with all of its inner business out for anyone to see.
Oh yeah,
where else but Costa Rica, a country I've had on my bucket list since I was 8. So imagine my blood pressure when TED Countdown invited me out there for their creator quest. TED Countdown, this isn't an ad by the way, but TED Countdown's whole thing is bringing different people from different walks of life to learn about and discuss issues like climate change, conservation, and that's what they did. They brought a bunch of creators with very little in common and had to spend 4 days in Costa Rica together. Basically, it was total drama Costa Rica, but without the toxicity.
Hell yeah.
Of course, I was most excited for the animals, and trust and believe, animals were seen. But honestly, it might have been the people that had the biggest impact. I will forever speak highly of the ticos and ticas of Costa Rica because I've seen firsthand the people there have a genuine connection to the land. Because many understand nature will provide only if you let her. That's someone's garden. Actually, let me not be rude. That's Jasmine's garden. Jasmine Godinez. I don't even want to call her a chef. That woman was making straight art. That is the pose of a man locked in while starving to death. Not to mention headache, stomach ache, ankle sprain. I don't think there's one condition you could complain about that Jasmine couldn't just find a cure to in her own backyard. I feel like Jasmine and people like her really embody the spirit of Costa Rica. Like they see life as a constant collaboration with nature, which it is. That's why the farmers you'd expect to hate jaguars for taking cows are actually their strongest soldiers. In fact, quick story, Carlos Manuel Rodriguez is the environmental minister of Costa Rica, and in 2006, he was severely mauled by a defensive mother tapir and left dazed and disoriented in Corcovado National Park, where he wandered, lost and injured, for 3 days. And after his near-death experience, Carlos holds zero ill will towards the tapir, still working tirelessly to protect them and even continuing to collect wooden models of the same animal that nearly killed him.
Really?
That's Costa Rica in a nutshell. It's like someone cloned a bunch of Maya divas and had them run a country. I actually met Maya. That's her. That's Maya. Say hi, Maya. You may know her from her Alveus sanctuary, or from the TED Talk that she just did, or just from being the Gen Z Jenga doll of social media. Basically, that's the homie. And we were the only 2 wildlife creators invited, so naturally these 2 animal nerds, the very first night we went out into the forest just to see what we could find, and now I'm gonna share that with you.
Okay.
First was this giant red-winged grasshopper. There's a Maya hand for reference. Now I've seen some horrific looking grasshoppers and the like in my day, but you know what? He's cute, and I genuinely don't care if I'm the only one on that hill. They're one of the largest grasshoppers on the planet, with a wingspan that can get to 10 inches. If you didn't know any better, you'd think you had a bat or a small bird flying above your head, and the sound of one hitting your window sounds like a robbery. Big deal, he's still a baby. Besides, be thankful, some grasshoppers eat birds. Be glad a red wing's only victims are green. But speaking of the unappreciated, we also found this beauty right here, an orb weaver. Wasn't exactly sure what kind, but my best answer is Eriophora edax. And yes, I'm gonna put a spider warning, but do you really need one? I was afraid of pigeons as a kid. Where was my trigger warning? But you should know that orb weavers are not dangerous or venomous, or at least they are if you're an insect watching this video, but as a human, Nah. In
But I'm a
fact, the most
bat.
dangerous thing about them is how easy it is to walk face first into a web. Not because you get hurt, because then you'd have to carry the weight of destroying a family home and leaving a spider destitute. Also, while I was trying to ID them, I found that Costa Rica has some insane spiders. Have you seen spiny orb weavers? They're almost too freaky to be scary. But easily, the weirdest animal we found was an animal I'd never seen before. No, not Maya. This was the only clip we got because he flew off. Rude, but yeah, that's a plant hopper nymph. I had no idea how cool these things were. They have fiber optic cables for a tail. That isn't even a tail, it's a waxy projection. Not 100% sure what it's for, but the most popular theory is that it's for self-defense through diversion, like a lizard losing its tail. But I also read that it's like a parachute meant to stabilize a nymph in the air. There's so much in Costa Rica, the challenge isn't finding them, it's not accidentally stepping on them when you do. In fact, pause the video when you find the frog, let me know how long it takes.
Not that hard. Finding him through my phone.
I don't see it. I still don't see it.
Where are you?
I still don't see it.
Oh yeah,
also, we didn't just find insane
I never
animals.
saw it.
Check out this lobster tail, aka the toucan beak, and the touch me not, and I'm gonna let the Higa explain.
Touch me not. And well, actually, it's failing because there's a little bug on it right now. But it's got this really cool defense mechanism. When you touch it, it closes up. And the point of that is when a bug or an herbivore comes to feed on it, it spooks that animal.
Okay, so not quite like a like the things that kill the bugs in the mouth.
Touch me not.
So yeah, not bad finds for an impromptu backyard safari.
That's a good name
darkness,
for it.
But the coolest thing to me were probably the ants. I nearly massacred a colony of leafcutter ants, and you can probably guess what they do for a living. But they don't eat the leaves, they actually use the leaves to farm fungus, and that's what they eat. And apparently, ants have been farming fungus for like 50 million years.
Oh, I thought the green was part
how
of
crazy
them.
that is. That's not even the wildest
okay.
part. Some ants farm aphids like livestock, where they lead them to food, carry them into nests at night, and even milk them. Not to sound like a bunny hugger or anything, but there's something about watching a foraging line of ants working in solidarity that just restructures your neural pathways. Maybe because they best represent Costa Rica as a whole. There was one point where they took us to meet this indigenous group, the Baruca, and I'm standing in this massive forest that had to have been around for thousands of years, until I heard the words no man wants to hear.
What?
She was lying about her age. Less than 60 years ago, the very forest I was in was just farmland, and people banded together to basically reverse deforestation and restore what most people would have seen as just a lost cause. I don't think lost cause is even in their vocabulary, but ironically, the animal that probably best encapsulates Costa Rica's relationship with nature was the one I didn't see at all, which was disappointing because, yeah, I was looking forward to a sloth. One day we're gonna find a cure to a major disease, and it's gonna be in a sloth. Scientists believe that the fur of the Costa Rican sloth holds antibiotic producing bacteria, which may be why sloths are so resistant to disease. And now the hope is that the sloth's fur ecosystem can help us fight malaria, Chagas disease, and maybe even breast cancer. More proof that nature is the world's biggest pharmacy. But there's another side to this relationship. Sloths, along with squirrel monkeys, macaws, and many more, are often victims in the illegal pet trade. And every year, thousands of sloths are kidnapped and used in tourist trap garbage like sloth selfies. That hasn't stopped Costa Ricans from going undercover as fake tourists to expose these operations from the inside and rescue the animals. If discovered, some of the undercover activists risk getting seriously hurt or worse, yet that's barely a thought to them. They live for the earth, and they'll die for her too. So yeah, Costa Rica ruined my life because being around people like that for basically a week, I couldn't shake the feeling in the back of my head that I'm not doing enough. I mean, you have these people laying down their entire lives to protect nature, and it's like, what am I doing? Like, transparently, I already have really bad imposter syndrome, but there's one quote that legitimately shifted my perspective. We met with a conservationist, Fabricio Bonilla Pacheco, and he was talking about coming to Costa Rica and being confused because he couldn't find the other conservationists. In a place like Costa Rica, I mean, you'd expect them to be all over. Except then he realized they were. They were the postmen, they were the teachers, they were the IT, software developers, chefs. His point was everybody is a conservationist. By simply living on this earth, everyone,
like
me,
a furry
you,
and IT
you watching this right now, you, everyone is an environmentalist. We could and should always do more, but by just caring, you're doing enough, and I really needed to hear that. Hopefully you did too. Drink water, hug your mother. Don't hug a sloth, hug your father first.
Hell yeah.
And I'ma see ya. Actually, no, I'ma see Costa Rica again. One time is not enough, but I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Hell yeah. If you've been to Costa Rica, let me know if you saw a sloth down below in the comments. I don't think I would ever go to Costa Rica because those bugs terrify me.